What's up, friends? I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. I swear to God I didn't plan that to line up like that. Welcome to Maintenance Monday. We're going to work on the rig that I was just flying in that. We are going to work on the test bed glide that we're trying out those Velox V3s on. We are even going to, maybe, pull apart the big bastard, the Razorback here, with all the white and red. I've got a white antenna and a white camera for it. Flies fine, but, you know, more white will definitely make it fly better. Right? No? That's okay. Some quads need to look good, man. Some are going to just live on the wall or on the shelf, and they need to look good. Otherwise, you know, you're going to want to sell them. Nobody wants that. In the chat, Freelojo was first, Northern Tier, Skyblender, Killer Whale, FPV Flyer, Tongue Out FPV, Douglas Otwell, Brian Chambers, Sleepy CBR, Frank Nicholas, Hockey Rounds, Fun Pervault, Buck, Grokart, Mozart, FP Avery, Danzel, The Terrible, Kevin Sumner, MXSH, and FP Avery. What's up, friends? Thanks for coming. If you want to talk directly to me, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV into the chat, and it'll light up in orange, like you see here from Skyblender. Howdy, y'all, in CiottiFPV. How the heck are you? I'm good, brother. I am good. Today was the third day. I got a shirt. I've been hanging out with this company, Atlanta Autos, so much that I got a shirt. Today was the third day that I worked with them. On Saturday, they had me up to film. They were putting a bunch of cars in the front of the lot, and they wanted me to do a path through them. And then they had me out again yesterday at a car show that they did in Alpharetta, this fancy schmancy town around here, in this place called Avalon. And then today they had me out to fly around the actual showroom. They put a shitload of nice cars into the showroom. And then they had the same cars in the showroom today that they had outside the other day. How is he going to edit that together? Well, not my problem. Gangly Gang, glittery, amazing holographic stickers are available. Message me if you want one, and we'll figure it out. Figure out what you want, and maybe there's another sticker. I'm trying to do 2 stickers at a time from now on. But yeah, message me, and we'll figure something out. CBCBR says, how's it going? Might get me one of those squid sticks. Hey, speaking of, Chris from Squid Sticks, who designed this, he said that he got 4 orders right after my live stream. He was actually watching the live stream yesterday. He's like, I was watching the live stream hoping that it would bind and nothing would go wrong. And yeah, he said he got 4 orders. So the 4 of you that ordered this thing after the stream, very cool. Enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, the only knock on it is that it's going to run the battery down in your transmitter. But man, is it handy. Like, once you're bound, you just plug it in, turn your transmitter on, and away you go. The fact that you don't have to screw around with Edge TX to get the really low latency, like you're going to get super low latency with it, like, that's amazing. That's super, super, super cool. So yeah. Thanks, guys. Way to go. Way to spend that money. Denzel the Turbo says, holy shnikes. Is this where that CiottiFPV guys, that thing was hair and the jib jabs? I'm so excited. It is indeed. MXSH says, hi, I have a Mobula6 ELRS on the default 702 26,000 kV motors. Do you think tinkering in PID filters will make it fly better? Not really. If yes, what are the things to look at in there? Why, MX, here's my main question. Why do you want it to fly better? Are you going to be using the footage that you get from it for some sort of commercial purposes? Is that why you want the footage to look better? Or do you just want to impress your friends? Or do you just see everyone on the internet, mainly on Facebook, constantly talking about PID tuning, and does that make you feel like you need to do it? The reason why I ask that is cranking up the PIDs leaves you with a rig that is less durable. It's going to leave you with something that does not show you when you make certain flying mistakes. And so yeah, if the footage is going to be used for commercial purposes, I'm with you. Let's crank the tune up absolutely to the bleeding edge so that the footage is as locked in as possible. If that's not the case, though, I would not touch it. If you're looking to try to be a better pilot, the worse and the softer the tune, basically the farther to the left that the sliders are, the more you're going to get to see when you make mistakes so that you can actually learn from it. When you crank the PID tune up, it starts covering up mistakes, so now you don't know about those mistakes and you never correct those flight problems with your flying. So it literally makes it harder to learn. Also, it leaves you with a rig that if you get bent props or a bent motor, it's going to try to fly to the moon. It's just going to generally perform horrible. So There are only a couple of reasons why we should be pushing our tune anywhere above the 1.0 right down the middle on the sliders stock default tune. The default tune flies phenomenally well in Betaflight 4.2, 3, and 4. So yeah, my main advice is to leave the tune alone, and my main advice is to really figure out what you want, like figure out what you're doing. Are you trying to learn right now? Are you trying to get commercial work? Are you trying to impress your friends? Are you trying to impress strangers that aren't going to care? You know, like that's going to be my main piece of advice is to figure out the why. And then after you know that, now you're going to know whether or not you should be kind of pushing the tune. So yeah, or, you know, if it's just like, if you just want to learn how to tune, that's cool too. There are certainly reasons to push the tune, but there are a lot of reasons not to. And that's what nobody really talks about. Like, everybody just talks about, yeah, tune, push all the numbers, push it as high as possible. And it's like, well, why? Like, why? Why are we doing that? What's the point of that? So yeah, that's sort of my philosophy. If you want to just push the tune to see what happens, cool, but just understand that it's not there's not like a free lunch there. Like, there are consequences to doing that. And again, that's what nobody really talks about. So we end up with everybody cranking their tunes up and then bitching and moaning when their quad flies away into Never Never Land, or just, you know, generally is less durable, right? Like, how many posts do you see on Facebook of like, my quad is all of a sudden flying like ass, I don't understand why. And it's like, okay, well, what did you do? Oh, well, I was in there just moving all the sliders around at random. Okay, well, don't do that. Or, you know, I pushed all the sliders up as far as they went, and then I stacked it into a tree at full tilt. I don't understand why it's on fire now. It's like, are you in, like, what? So yeah. That's the important bit to me. If you want to just quickly play around with the tune, grab the master multiplier and move it to the right. Move it from 1.0 to 1.2, fly it. Move it from 1.2 to 1.4, fly it. 1.6, fly it. 1.8, fly it. And you can, and you'll be able to feel and see exactly what pushing all of the values up is going to do. You're also going to get to a point where it's overtuned, and you arm it and it either tries to fly away or it just sounds terrible. So yeah, if you just want to know what the tune does, that's an easy way to do it. And if you don't like it, you move the master multiplier back down to 1.0, and you're back to normal. When you start to move all the sliders around, it gets a little bit more hairy. So yeah, the Mobula6 ELRS with the 702 26,000s flies rad right out of the box. Like, it should be flying pretty good with the sliders at 1.0. Depending upon what gyro is on the specific one that you got. Happy Model has made that quad with 4 different gyros now, I think. So depending on which gyro you have more or less of a window for pushing that tune. If it's the MPU 6000, you can push that tune hard. If it's the BMI 270 or the ICM, you're not going to be able to push that tune as far. So there's not like a blanket one-size-fits-all thing that I can kind of give you. Although, to be honest, anybody who tries to give you a blanket tune like that, you don't want to listen to a goddamn word they say, because they have no idea what they're talking about, since anybody that knows anything knows that every single individual rig has to have a pretty specific tune for it. The frame, the motors, how you crash, how you fly, there's a million different things that are going to affect how you set the tune up. And like I said, the stock tune nowadays is pretty fantastic. So when you start screwing around with it, you can really screw the rig up, and you can really make your flight experience a lot worse. even though, you know, God forbid, when you dump the thing hard into its own dirty air, it wobbles for a split second, right? Like, God forbid that you have a little bit of wobble to tell you that, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that. And like, the other little secret is that if you can learn the scenarios that put the rig into dirty air and cause it to wobble around, that is extremely helpful, because if you're doing a camera movement where you have to do that, it's fine. You want your tune to be cranked up so that the client doesn't get pissed. Although nowadays with Real Steady and you know, electronic image stabilization, kind of doesn't matter anymore. But it will zoom. It does matter because it will have to zoom in order to stabilize. But other than that scenario, like, it's really good info for you to have, because even if down the road you start getting commercial work and you crank the tune up, when you put it into dirty air, it is going to have to use the battery hard usually, because the PID loop is going to go full tilt a lot of times to be able to fight that dirty air. So if you never learn that, and if you never know what situations you're putting the rig into its own dirty air, you're going to have less battery runtime. And really, like, worst case scenario, it's going to try to crank these motors up to full blast, and you're going to get a desync, and it's going to fall out of the air. So it's really, really, really valuable to focus on yourself and your piloting skills, honestly, for a long time, for like years and years and years. You know, I'm almost 8 years in, and every time I go out and fly, I get better. And compared to many, 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 many other people, I ain't shit. And that's fine. Like, you know, there's always going to be, like, in all things in life, there's always going to be someone somewhere better than you. If you ever think that you're the absolute best on earth at something, you better check yourself, because you absolutely are not. And that ego is going to bite you in the ass at some point. So, yeah, be very realistic, and in my opinion, and really focus on, you know, your piloting skills. And cranking the tune up does not do anything for your piloting skills, and it actually makes it worse in my experience, in my opinion. Great question. That is a fairly common question that nobody talks enough about. And it's just from everybody on Facebook saying, oh my God, look how great my tune is. I spent 40 hours on it. And then you click on their video and it looks like it's their first time flying. And it's like, yo, I can't watch this. I don't care how good your tune is. You are a horrible pilot. Like, spend more time flying before you tune. And I'm as guilty of this as anybody. Very early on in my FPV journey, I just, from looking at, this was back before Facebook groups, really. This was back in RC groups days, the forum. Everybody on there talked about tuning, and I thought, well, shit, that's, you know, I know how to go up in the air and fly around in the parking lot. So the next step must be to dive into tuning and spend 100 hours learning how to tune. And it was a complete waste of time. The biggest waste of time is that you're not, like, I was not good enough to tell what was changing. Like, I would go in, and this was back way before sliders. This is back like 3.2, 3.3, 4, 5 days. And I would make a bunch of changes to P gains. And then I wasn't good enough to tell what the hell was going on. Like, it was different. Of course it was different. But, like, I had no idea what was different about it. So then I would come back in, and I would go back in there, and I would make a bunch of changes in the other direction maybe, and then I would go back out. And, like, the really hard part too is that the placebo kicks in hard, and you go up and you're like, oh, I can definitely feel the difference. This is definitely way better, even though I brought the values all down. And it just snowballs into this, like, unbelievable waste of time where you're not learning a goddamn thing, and you're just making the quad work a lot harder. And, like, worst case too is you push the values too high, and now you're starting to blow up ESCs and motors and shit, and now you can't even fly to get better because you're grounded because you fucked around with the P gains and bumped them up by 20 points and the damn thing caught on fire. So tuning is extremely unnecessary in 2023. The stock tune is incredible. The stock filtering is ridiculous in Betaflight. If you're going to go away from Betaflight, yeah, you're probably going to have to do a lot more with tuning, because all of the other flight firmware are really sort of like 4, 5, 6 years behind Betaflight. But if you stay with Betaflight, yeah, the stock tune is really, really good. And 99% of people, in my opinion, should be on the stock tune, because most people are not getting paid to fly. They're not getting paid for their footage. And really, you know, that's where you kind of need to have the tune be dialed in. Although you could really make a hell of an argument for not needing the rig to be tuned in that scenario either, because again, if you have a more loose tune, the rig is going to be able to come home a lot easier if you bang up a propeller or a motor or something like that. And getting the footage home is everything, especially if there was a crash. If crash footage is really, really popular, right? Like, everybody wants to see a drone fail. So if you're out on a gig and you wail into something and you can't get that damn thing home, you've lost potentially some of the best footage that you could have for that client. And yeah, so the list of and then if the flight footage is wobbly, you just dump it into Real Steady Go or Gyroflow, and it takes care of it. Yes, it zooms a little bit on it, which is why I personally think that when you start doing paid work, you should have your tune somewhat dialed in at least, so that it is as stable as possible, and Real Steady does not have to work as hard and zoom, right? Especially when you start getting gigs where there are there are medium format static cameras, big bastards, Red Komodos, Sony CXs, Aries, because they have great big sensors. It's not this big, but they have great big sensors in them, and the quality out of those cameras is phenomenal. Well, our GoPros have tiny little sensors, and so mixing GoPro footage with ARRI footage is already tough without the image getting zoomed in on by Gyroflow or Real Steady Go. So yeah, there's a long answer to a short question. Welcome to the CiottiFPV live stream. That's what we do around here. Great question, MX. Thanks for letting me dive into that and kind of break it all down. Because again, it is just a total misnomer that you need to tune. I know a shitload of pro pilots that do not tune at all. They build clean rigs that fly good, which I call mechanical tuning. You put the right propellers, motors, frame, ESC, battery all together, and the stock tune will work really well if you choose all your components well. So yeah, tuning is absolutely not necessary whatsoever. Kevin Sumner says, time to put racing stripes on the Razorback. Everyone knows how you make things go faster. Kevin Sumner says, I was one of the squid stick orders. Very cool. Awesome, dude. You're going to love it. DDBX3 says, what's in your ultimate Whoop build? It is all broken down on fpvknowitall.com. I have spent probably hundreds of hours working on Joshua's website here. In the Tiny Whoop section, you've got 65mm freestyle build. Read this. I've taken a ton of time and effort to write all this stuff out, and it all explains exactly what's going on with this build, why the components were chosen, and there's a bunch of little tips and tricks in here. So read through all of this and then just buy all of these things. These are all of Joshua's affiliate links. I'm happy if you use someone's affiliate links. If you want to support me, you can go to CiottiFPV.com before you order, and I have a bunch of affiliate links to a bunch of those websites as well. WeBleed FPV, Newbie Drone FPV Cycle, Amazon, Get FPV, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD0, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, and Camera Butter. Oh, and AliExpress. This is the link to my Patreon. This is the absolute best way that you can support me. You can hop on board for as little as $3 a month. That's 10 cents a day or 7.5 cents per hour of live streaming content that I produce here on a monthly basis. I know $3 a month doesn't sound like a lot, but when a whole bunch of you do it, it makes a huge difference for me. And it is literally the only reason that I can continue to do 10 hours a week of these live streams. So yeah, you're going to get a ton of benefits from it. You're going to get full Discord access. You're going to get 2 different Facebook groups, a YouTube playlist of like unreleased footage, crashes, half-done edits, Patreon-only live streams that we've done. And there's a whole bunch of technical articles up on the Patreon channel that you're going to get access to as well. Well worth 7.5 cents an hour of live streaming. Over on Etsy, I've got some really fun stickers and hardware. On Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me, take advantage of a guy that's willing to dump 7+ years of knowledge on you so that you stop buying the wrong things or tuning incorrectly or just generally flying like ass. We can work together on flight instruction to get you flying a little bit better. On Teespring, I've got some fun apparel and other random knickknacks, paddywhacks, and then over on PayPal, you can support me directly if you don't want to do a super chat because YouTube takes 30%. That's how you support your gangly buddy to keep this show on the road. Not on the road, to keep this show happening. Ran out of words. Professor Biohazard says, I must impress everybody. Well, then you better start tuning. Actually, no. You should not tune. You should fly your ass off to get good because you guys getting better as pilots is going to make your flight footage look 1,000 times better than spending a ton of time on tuning. Nobody's really going to notice your tune. I hate to break it to you, but there is not one single non-FPV pilot that's going to understand or realize or have any awareness of a shitty tune. It's only you that's going to notice it, and maybe like one other pilot that goes, your tune, it looks like you don't have quite enough P gain there. You might want to take care of that. CBFPV says, hey. Max says, it's only to add a joy to the flying on a better quad. Thank you. I just slowly figuring out things in Betaflight and feeling good when finding something that improves it, like VBAT or Blue Jay. Just trying to learn what changing of PID loop frequency does or what's overclock, etc. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, Max. There's a lot of stuff in Betaflight to learn. Most of it is extremely subtle, and you will not notice a difference. You'll think that you notice a difference because, again, the placebo in FPV is absolutely absurd. But you won't actually be noticing a difference. And the problem with that is that when you think you notice a difference, but you actually don't, there's a 50-50 shot that you're screwing yourself over because you're going to think, oh, this flies better, but it might actually be flying worse, or the motors might be getting hotter. But in your head, you're going to be like, no, I know that it's flying better, and then it catches on fire or whatever. Or it's a real slippery slope to dive into tuning within like your first couple of years of flying. And I know that sounds like a long time, but every single one of us that's gotten to the point where we're like half decent knows good and well, and it took years to get to where we're at. Every once in a while you'll have the outlier, like Bubby FPV is one of them. He was just some sort of an FPV prodigy, and he caught on absurdly fast. I'm certain that it helps that he's so young. So, I mean, if you're like 17 or however old he is, that is going to help because, you know, your brain plasticity is in a good place, unlike us old farts that, you know, have been around for 40 plus years. But yeah, it's pretty rare that within like, let's say 2 years, an FPV pilot is going to be competent enough to actually dial in on tuning changes and be confident about what is happening when they're changing those values. 99% of people just go by what some moron on Facebook said, or ideally you want to go by what Mark Spatz or Cris Rosser say on YouTube. But again, your quad is completely different than theirs, so you can't really take any of the numbers that everybody wants to see. My tune, everybody wants to see Chris's tune, everybody wants to see Mark's tune. We don't show our tunes because it does more damage than good, because then you just copy the numbers off of our screen and your shit catches on fire, or it flies worse, or maybe it does fly better, but you're, again, still, until you're a really decent pilot, you're just not going to understand that, and it really just muddies the water. So be really, really, really careful. PID loop frequency is not going to have any actual impact on flying. Overclock is not going to have any impact on flying whatsoever. Blue Jay, yeah, you maybe might get a tiny little bit more power from going to Blue Jay from BL Heli. It's going to be pretty subtle though. So yeah, thus far the things that you're mentioning are perfect examples of placebo, where you change them. Even I can't feel the difference to what those things do, but you haven't gotten over that Dunning-Kruger curve of like, I think I know more, I think I know more, I think I know more. Oh my God, I don't know anything. Oh, I'm actually finally starting to learn a couple things here and there. You know, you got to get way over that curve, and you got to get way the hell up here before you can realistically be honest with yourself and or be good enough to tell the changes. One of the main thing that makes it so difficult in FPV is that we have no feedback to the quad other than our eyeballs, and when you're close to yourself, your ears. Without sitting in the quad and having like your inner ear G-force to tell you what it's doing, it's incredibly difficult to dial these things in, and it makes trying to tell the difference when you change things in Betaflight almost impossible. So if you're really hell-bent on diving into Betaflight, you need to start looking up black box videos, because realistically, until you're a phenomenal pilot, you're not going to be able to tell the difference, and you're going to do as much harm as you do good. Whereas the black box logs do not lie. They are data driven. They are coming straight off the gyro. There's no getting around that. So if you're hell-bent on changing things in Betaflight, start looking up black box videos and start learning about black box. You're probably looking at minimum 20 to 40 hours to get remotely competent with it. And then you can let everything rely on the black box data. I don't actually recommend that, because during that process, you're not getting any better as a pilot, and how good you are as a pilot is about 99.9% of where the good flight footage comes from. That 0.1% is down to the build and the tune and stuff like that. But yeah, if you want your flight footage to look better, work on yourself. Don't work on the quad, unless there's a problem with it, and unless the quad is shaking all over the place or something like that. But in those scenarios, it's typically a mechanical issue, so it's not something that you want to be diving into the tune, because the tune is just going to be putting a band-aid on a head wound in that case. You want the quad to fly really good on a stock tune, so that your mechanical system, the props that you've chose, the motors, the battery, the AIO, the frame, are all working together in harmony. You cannot put lipstick on a pig with these things. You can certainly try, and you can piss away a ton of time doing it, but you're going to end up with something that flies terrible compared to someone who, maybe does the 5-er session with me for build planning, and we talk about their goals, and I suggest a setup of gear that is going to work really well for them, as an example. Or if you talk to anybody else who's been in the game paying attention for a long, long, long time. FPV Flyer says, is there a way to toggle quads Betaflight PID profile or rate profiles using Boxer radio? There is no way to change the PID profile with a switch on any radio. Rate profiles, I believe you can do it. It's going to be in Betaflight in adjustments. And in adjustments, you can assign a channel like aux2 or aux3 or whatever you have on your Boxer radio, whatever 3-position switch you want. That could be a 2-position too, I guess. And then there's a little bar on the right side that you drop down, and rate profile is going to be in there. So you should be able to put a 3-position switch on your Boxer or a 2-position switch to bounce between rate profiles, but you cannot do that with PID profiles. You have to land and you have to go into the menu and change your PID profiles within the menu, within the OSD itself. I would kind of recommend doing that for the rates as well. Having rate profiles on a switch, what that's going to do is it's going to encourage you to learn multiple muscle memories for multiple different rate profiles. And what that's basically, so let's say you have 2. Let's say you put 2 different rate profiles on the transmitter. That is going to make you 50% as good of a pilot. Because every single time you go from one rate profile to the other, you're going to have to relearn how to fly that rig and how to fly those rates. So you're going to have your ability to adjust to a set of rates and just fly and be confident and hit small gaps and whatnot. So, yeah, your best bet is going to be to pick a rate profile, pick rates that will do everything that you want to do. If you want to race, but you also want to freestyle, try to land your rates somewhere in between. There are people that argue that for racing, you have to have a separate rate profile, but there are phenomenal racers who prove that to be completely wrong and fly their freestyle rates on their racing rig and vice versa. They just have one set of rates. So, yeah, be careful with that. Having multiple different rate profiles that you run it's the same. It's actually worse than having a bunch of different sized builds that you fly. You know, what you see me doing here with 15 different builds, this is another really good way to not get good. The best way to get good is to fly the exact same thing over and 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 over again. Why do you think Steele Davis is so good? He not refuses, but he almost completely refuses to change any of his gear. And he just flies the same thing over and over again. And that allows him to, you know, every time he goes out to fly, the rig is exactly the same thing as it was last time. So he's going to immediately start getting better. Well, you take a different, you know, every time I go out and fly, it's on God knows what rig it is. So I have to learn that rig, and that's going to take a few batteries. So at least 2 or 3 or 4 batteries, I'm just trying to learn that damn rig. And then I can start maybe getting better as a pilot. A lot of times, though, the damn thing's broken by the time I get to 3 or 4 batteries and I put it away and grab another one and start the cycle all over again. So, you know, when you look at some of my flight footage from like 2 or 3 years ago and I'm no better than I am today, yeah, that's a big part of the reason why. I almost never... 2 or 3 years ago is when I stopped flying the same thing. I had a good run after like... somewhere in like my second year of flying, I kind of realized a lot of this, and it was a lesson from a lesson that carried over from motorsports. I learned that with autocrosses and track days, if I kept screwing around with shock damping and sway bar settings and tire pressures, I was just going out on track and adjusting to the car the entire time, and then I would just learn like a little tiny bit, get a little tiny bit better. It wasn't until I stopped doing that and just set the tire pressures at the end of the first run and left them alone, set the shock dampers at the end of the first run, and just took, you know, 6 or 7 runs with the car identical, or, you know, XYZ number of sessions with the car being identical, that I could actually get better as a driver. And I forgot that lesson for the first bit of FPV, but I realized it at some point. And I built 3 identical, 1, 2, and the third one we're going to work on, completely identical 5-inch rigs. And for like 2 or 3 years, I just flew those. Every once in a while, I would put a tiny whoop up in the air, but I really focused on flying those rigs. And that's when I got good. You can just watch in that. I have all the flight footage. You can just watch in that 3-year period, like me get significantly better. and then you can see where I stop. It was right around COVID, a little bit after COVID, where I started screwing around with a ton of different rigs and flying a different thing every time and testing a lot of gear. And I haven't really gotten much better since then. I've gotten better flying Cinewhoops because I have left my Cinewhoops alone for the most part when I started to get paying work 2.5 to 3 years ago. So I've gotten way better at flying Cinewhoops, but in terms of like 5-inch freestyle, if anything, I've maybe gotten worse, which is kind of frustrating. But you know, 5-inch freestyle, there's really no money in that. That's just like a for fun kind of showy offy thing, and that's fine, you know. So yeah. If you know, we got that. Somatic Cinema says, "I am one of those pilots." LOL. Yeah, Somatic is in our chat probably the most well-established cinematic pilot that we've got, and I know that he does very little to no tuning, and that has not held him back at all. It's probably one of the reasons that he is where he is, and he gets the incredible gigs that he gets, is because he hasn't wasted time diving into tuning, obsessing over tuning, watching all the, you know, learning all the stuff. So yeah, you could make a real strong argument for, if you want to get good, if you want to get work, stop thinking about tuning and just focus on yourself and your flying, and the mechanical tuning side of things. But you know, there are plenty of pilots that do know how to there are plenty of professional pilots that do know how to tune. I'm one of them. Sometimes it feels like there are more that don't know how to tune than do. But it's hard because a lot of the people, a lot of these guys just don't talk about it. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys like kind of keep it under their hat, and they consider it to be like their secret, and they don't want to let anybody else know, so in case they take work away from them. You know, I hate that side of it, but I get it. So yeah, sometimes pro pilots do actually know how to tune. They just don't like tip their hat or like really help people that are looking for tuning advice. And yeah, it kind of is what it is. Killer Whale 806 says, "I'm having a trill on takeoff. Just posted the video in Discord. Any advice to fix this?" Typically when okay, Killer Whale also says, "Other than that, trill and takeoff flies fine. A little prop wash if I force it, but that's it, using the karate preset." So there's the problem right there, using the karate preset. For the longest time, everybody was begging for presets in Betaflight, and I was just sitting like, thank God they don't have presets in Betaflight, because this is exactly what happens when you have presets in the flight firmware. The karate tune, the karate preset, was designed by someone for their specific quad, at their specific air density, with their specific flying skills, and the specific usage of the footage after the fact. I guarantee you that you are not exactly the same human being as that person that has done the exact same build and are at the exact same air density. So using that karate preset is the problem. You want to get off of that preset. I would say go on to stock, just 1.0 all of the sliders and fly the quad and see how it is. It's probably going to be damn near perfect. If you are selling your footage or getting hired for commercial work, maybe you want to start pushing those sliders up to get the quad locked in a little bit more. But if you're not, I would actually recommend leaving them all at 1.0 and just focus on your flying. When the quad goes into oscillations in dirty air or prop wash, you've just realized that you made a mistake as a pilot. Fix it. Don't do that again. You're going to get to a point as a pilot where, when you're starting to get good, where tuning is going to start to actually make sense, and you're going to understand what you've heard me and Cris Rosser and Mark Spatz have been talking about all these years with tuning. And at that point, that's when you want to start tuning. Just like, you know, I'm having a problem, can somebody help me? That, in my opinion, and this is going to sound harsh, but stick with me. And I'm not picking on you, Killer Whale. You are in the majority here, okay? This is not me picking on you at all. I could pick a random person in this chat, and they would be doing the same thing, right? So it's not about you. Shit, now I forget what I was going to say. Must not have been that important. It was a good point too. Son of a bitch. Yeah, you got to get good as a pilot before you can understand what the changes that you make in Betaflight actually do. And when you don't know what those changes do, and you ask someone else for advice, and they give you that advice and you do it, you really don't learn much. And in a lot of cases, it makes the rig fly worse, because most of those people that you ask for the advice don't know what they're talking about, or they don't know your exact rig. I can almost guarantee you that they don't know your exact rig, and they don't have the full picture as to what's going on. Maybe you pounded it into a tree yesterday. They don't know that, right? Like, you would need to tell them everything about the rig. You would need to tell them all the components, exactly how you built it, how clean your stack mounting is, how often you've crashed it, what you've crashed it into, how you repaired it. Like, in order for someone to give you proper advice that's actually going to solve an issue, they have to know everything. Otherwise, they're going into it with blinders on, and they're just going to, like, kind of close their eyes and point. And, like, maybe it makes that one thing better, but a lot of times it's going to make something else worse. So, yeah, it's really, really difficult. But I would absolutely get off that karate preset. That is the biggest part of the problem that you're having, because that preset has nothing to do with your quad. Your quad needs a custom tune. The only reason to tune is to custom tune, so that you can set Betaflight up to match up perfectly with your mechanical components that you've chosen. Taking someone else's tune from a completely different quad, maybe every once in a while it'll make things better, but typically it's going to make a couple of things better and a couple of things worse. And that's not the point. Like, that leaves you right back where you were. It just shifts you over a little bit. Like, it doesn't actually increase the performance. It just makes it different. And we're not trying to make things different with tuning. We're trying to make it better. Cool? Makes sense? Hopefully. Jackalope FPV with a $10 super chat. He says, Ciotti equals GOAT. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. CMYK dropping the CiottiFPV.com link saying, yo, what's up, gangly gang? Denzel the Turbo says, wait, didn't CiottiFPV get a Babito? Sleepy CBR, did it ever fly? I did. Somebody sent me a Babito, and I built it, and I flew it, and it flew exactly like all of the other tiny little non-ducted quads, which in my opinion is bad. I don't think they fly good. And I don't think they really accomplish anything. Like, without prop guards, you can't really fly them in the house, but then they're too small to really fly outside. You can't crash them hard because it's going to ruin the motors and the propellers all the time, because those tiny little motors have wee little 1mm motor shafts, which are just super fragile. I just don't get it. Yes, they're adorable. I get that, which is why it sits up on the shelf. Like, it's the perfect shelf quad. It's absolutely adorable. When somebody comes over, it's like, and look at this little one, and they go, oh my god! That's all it does well. And it's not about the Babito. It's about all of these small little tiny whoops where you've removed the guards. It just doesn't make sense. If you want something to fly in your garden, build a 75mm whoop so that you have the prop guards, so that when you're shooting these tiny little gaps in your garden, if you bang it into the chair leg, it's going to bounce off and it's not going to ruin the motor. And it's also going to bounce off and allow you to keep flying, right? Those little things, when you crash them in grass that's longer than 1mm, you can't take it back off, and you got to take the walk. It just sucks. The whole flight experience with these little tiny, like, ductless rigs is kind of a nightmare in my experience. I don't really understand it. It's more like, to me, what it is like it's this like hype train thing of like, oh, everybody else is building this. It must be good, right? Oh, it's the brand new product. It must be awesome. Like, you gotta think. CiottiFPV 2023. You gotta think, bro. Yeah, you have to think about like about your builds and build something for a purpose. If that purpose is to sit on the shelf and look fucking adorable, build the shit out of a Bobito. Build it right now. There's no rig that does that better. But if you're planning on flying it, I would definitely not suggest it. I know that sounds horrible, but like, it's just the truth. And like, you know, Bubby flies the shit out of his inside the Rotor Riot building, inside his house. That's great. Are you as good as he is? If you're not, you're gonna hate it. Like, he can do that because he's one of the best pilots on Earth. I am not. And so when I fly it, it's a nightmare. So if you're like way better than me, maybe you can get away with it. But if you're here watching the live stream, you're probably not that much better than me. There's plenty of people in here that are better than me, but not so much better than me that they can rip a Bobito inside and not ruin their house or just have a terrible experience. So yeah, cannot recommend a Bobito. It just, or any of these 1.2 inch, 1.6 inch, even 2 inch freestyle rigs. It just that don't have any prop cards. It just makes no sense. The tiny whoops are the way to go. They fly almost as good, and there are so many benefits. So yeah, do that in my opinion. CMYKFPB says, I popped a new video of the Ultimate Tiny Whoop build into the video Discord. I can't believe how acrobatic it is on stock Betaflight tunes with my rates. Yeah, man, the Ultimate Tiny Whoop build is really something else. Go figure. You know, it's a product of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours and batteries of Tiny Whoop tuning and experimenting and all the things that we've done here on the channel for many years. So yeah, I love that some of you guys are following right along and doing that build. I think at this point, like every single person that has done the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop build has been like, holy shit, this is a whole different thing. Which was my reaction too, once I finally like really got it nailed down with the high KV 702s and the right frame and the right throttle expo and all the things that we talk about with that. Killer Rail says, I've been flying this preset for a while. When I first started using it, it helped a lot with prop wash, but it's always had this trill. I'll go back to stock and see what the change is. Thank you. You're certainly welcome, brother. Yeah, and by going back to stock, you're going to get better as a pilot. So yeah, enjoy that, because that's going to make your flight footage look so much better than the tune being absolutely cranked up. And yeah, like I said, nowadays the stock tune is so good that we don't really need the presets, especially if you've done a half-decent job picking the propellers, the motors, the battery, the frame. So yeah, it's interesting. Once we finally got presets in Betaflight, we didn't really need them because the filtering got so good and the default PIDs got so much more aggressive since the filtering got so good. So it's kind of funny how that worked. Time to check out my mailbag, friends. Fly Tribe sending another box up in here. Let's see what we got. I did cut it open, but I didn't really look at the box much. There's a black t-shirt in there, and I don't know what that is on the bottom. Oh, yeah. I don't know if I have a black Fly Tribe shirt. If I do already have a black Fly Tribe shirt, this is going to be in a giveaway. Hopefully I can find somebody that's a skinny bastard like me that wears a medium, because that's what this is. So very, very cool. Ooh, that's pretty nice. That is a, I think this is for your keys, a little grabby boy for your car keys. I use car related ones, so this is going to be in a giveaway for sure. A couple of stickers. They always hook a brother up with some stickers. What is this? Is this a fanny pack? Oh, this is a fanny pack, yo. Look at that. Is it? Wait, is it? Hold on. I think it is, right? That's got to be a fanny pack. The pockets on it are, oh, I see. It's like double duty. Like it's got a handle up on top here, so you can carry it around, but then it's also got the fanny packness in the front. The two little main pouch here, and then a secondary pouch up front. That's pretty cool. I don't really think that I'm a fanny pack kind of guy, if I'm totally honest with you. So this might also end up in a giveaway. Although you never know. Like, let's call it a butt pouch from now on. Butt pouches are actually really handy. Like, if I could get over myself, I would be a butt pouch kind of guy. But, you know, we're allowed to be a little bit vain and care about how we look. So yeah, this will probably be in a giveaway. I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a giveaway. Very cool for them to send it, though. I hope that some of you out there aren't so fragile. Because, yeah, having a little bit of extra storage on your butt is a good thing. Edition number 3 of the Fly Tribe magazine. This is September 2023. Pilot Spotlight is on La Beba. I don't know anything about racing, so I don't know who that is. But she appears to be the golden eagle of FPV. Oh, I'm holding it behind the thing. Apparently, she's the golden eagle of FPV. They're diving into the head tracking system, which is really cool. Medlin, I'm assuming. Multi-GP International Open. How to fix your carbon. That's really cool. Ooh, some Shelby Vole stuff. Comic strip. That's slick. And Zoe FPV content. Very, very cool. From Humble Beginnings, it says. This... Hey, Merlin's on the back cover. Look at that handsome devil. Yeah, buddy. Hell yeah. Okay. Flytribemagazine.com, my friends. Support these awesome people. They are killing it with this magazine. It's really, really, really well done. The photography in it is just awesome. It's so cool to like actually get some FPV photography. You know, like we fly video cameras and we forget about like shooting stills, I think. And it's just really cool to see, man, they really dove in to how to fix carbon. Good Lord. This is really cool. Yeah, we forget about stills, and it kind of slows things down, and you can just, I don't know, you just notice different stuff when you're looking at stills of FPV rigs in the air or just other people's builds. You can kind of learn a bunch, and I think that we kind of forget about that sometimes. Damn, yeah, they're putting in a lot of work to this magazine. And you're gonna dig it. So get you some. Get a little subscription action. Get a magazine in the mail every month, yo. You'll feel so 1900s. And you'll love it. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. That is wild looking. Oh my goodness. Hell yeah. Thank you, Fly Tribe. Very, very cool of you guys to send this and all the other beautiful stuff that you have over for the giveaways and all the funds. Oh my God, that's somebody wearing a Zox bracelet. No way. Who the hell is this? Who is that? That's somebody wearing a Zoxpers. I thought I was the only one that knew about those. They're holding a is that CiottiFPV? That's CiottiFPV's rig, isn't it? I don't know anybody else that would put CiottiFPV's logo on their rig. I'm gonna have to message him and be like, yo, you know about Zox? Bro. Love it. Man, this is a good one. Yeah, there it is. That's what I was looking for. Yep, there's the Medlin stuff. Very, very cool. So there's an article in here with Medlin. That is killer. He is such a cool guy. I got to hang out with him at Rampage for a little while and fly one of his tiny whoops, and it was just awesome. Just absolutely awesome. Hell yeah. I love it. I absolutely love it. Get you one, friends. Mine's going on the coffee table. Ha! Whoa! All right, yo. Thus concludes checking out CiottiFPV's mailbag. On to the work. All right, hold on. Let me move this over into this little giveaway sort of area. This guy started acting a little bit funny today. So I want to spin the motors up with the props on and CMYK confirming that it is CiottiFPV. Awesome. Love that. Yeah, Sleepy CBR with a $5 super chat. He says, I'm not better, LOL. Thanks for saving me some cash. You're welcome, brother. CMYK says, oh my, CiottiFPV's packing. Denzel the Terrible says, CiottiFPV's lying. He's totally a fanny pack kind of guy. You know, I am embracing dad life as much as I possibly can, so you never know. Yeah, that's the other thing with fanny packs is it's become like really popular with the lunatic gun-toting crowd. So yeah, that ain't me. I ain't that. So when you've got a rig that's starting to be a little bit unruly, I'm gonna give you my sort of workflow of how to figure out what the hell's going on. And why is there so much hair in this? Whose hair is this? I mean, I did fly really close to some people today, but not that close. And nobody complained of me ripping their hair out. Yeah, so I'm going to sort of give you my workflow as to what's going on. This rig, what's happening is, when I arm it and it's on the ground, it's starting to go and get really upset. What that usually means is that your PID tune is a little bit too aggressive, or your filters, you basically don't have enough filtering, or the filtering that you've got is not filtering the right frequencies. This rig at one point was completely fine. So the tune should not be the problem. Not to mention that I took a point out of the D gain in this tune and it didn't help at all, which means that, again, that the tune is really not the problem. So the problem is more than likely either the motors or the propellers. It's probably the propellers. Something that nobody talks about is that propellers do wear. Every time that you go full throttle, the propellers flex upwards. And every single time that happens, they get a little bit weaker and they start to move upwards. And in this case, there's 5 of them. They might not all individually move upwards the same amount. And now you've got one propeller that's sitting a little high, another one that's sitting a little bit low, and that's going to create vibrations that were not there before. So this is why, like, one of the first troubleshooting steps is always going to be to change the props. Just change the props. They're cheap, they're easy to swap out, and if it fixes your problem, you just saved yourself hours of time and God knows how much money. So that is basically going to be the first thing I do. But I want to spin these up to see if there's one of them that is vibrating a little bit more than another. like like I said, the easy button is just to switch the props out, but I want to be a little bit more calculated with this. Before you do that, though, what you can also do is just push up on the motor bells. These Brother Hobby VY2004s have a nasty tendency of pulling the bell off of the motor shaft. So I check these motors constantly because of that. And you just push up from down below. You just grab the bell and push it towards myself at this point, but just up. You're trying to push the bell up and off, and then kind of pull it back down, and just make sure that the bell does not have a bunch of motion on the stator. I checked this before. This is kind of a pre-flight check for me with this rig at the beginning of every day. And yeah, they're all fine. But that is an impossibly simple, quick check that you can do before you even start taking screws out of propellers. I'm going to be a little bit sketchy, and I'm going to fire this thing up with a battery and spin the props up, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a very safe way. And I'm also going to show you how to do it in the field without even using Betaflight. So let me grab my transmitter here. And we're going to have to fire up Crossfire, which is going to give us a little bit of interference. Oh, no, well, maybe not. This new microphone, I think it doesn't have the issue with 900 megahertz. So that's kind of awesome. So I need my transmitter and some batteries. Well, just one battery. So if your rig has changed its behavior, if you're out flying it, probably you're going to slam it into something, and then all of a sudden it starts acting different. This is the very first thing that you want to do. Power up your transmitter, and you're going to go into turtle mode. Turtle mode is going to blow thrust upwards, and it's going to be a lot safer. Arming a quad when you're anywhere near it is a terrible idea because the PID loop is going to be running, and that's going to make it be kind of unpredictable in a way. But turtle mode does not use the PID loop, and it's just a much more controlled way of kind of spinning the propellers up. So if you get a little bit of a grip on the rig, you might want to have a better grip than this, but I've done this quite a bit, and I'm just used to how to slowly turn turtle mode on. You would not want to do this and just bang the right stick around, because that's going to go full steam and it could jerk it in your hand. But if you're real gentle, you can just spin it up a little bit. All right. So let's go motor 1. Nice and smooth. Motor 2. There is a little vibration there at low RPM. The other thing is that low RPMs are where a lot of the vibrations happen, so you don't want to crank them up full stank. Motor 3. Motor 4. There are some vibes there. Spinning them up 2 at a time can kind of tip you off to some things. Sometimes you'll get like I don't know. 1 at a time is what's going to tell you the most of the info, but going to 2 at a time, sometimes you'll get like a weird like rah, 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 like they'll interact in a weird way, like if one prop is bent just wrong and the other one's bent just wrong, but yeah, typically the firing the motors up individually is going to tell you the most. So is there any feedback? Let me know in the chat, please. It's that was Crossfire on 500 million gigawatts. So I did have a little bit of extra vibration on motor 2, which is pretty normal. The front motors are usually going to have more vibes than the rears because you crash when you're going forward more often than when you're going backwards. But then motor 3 had a little bit more vibes too. So let's pull these propellers off, and then we're going to just spin the motors up. And when I spin the motors up, I usually do that in Betaflight, but let's do it on the transmitter, because you can, turtle mode is really handy for this kind of stuff. And honestly, if you're just gentle with the right thumbstick, you can just spin the motors up a little bit, and that's what you want to find. You know, think of like when you're idling and not idling, when you're hovering, where's the throttle at? It's only at like 30%. It's not at full throttle. So and most of the vibrations that you get are at cruising, or sometimes when it's idle, sitting on the ground, right? So there's no reason to go full stank and feel for vibrations at full throttle. That's not usually where they occur. So let's just... these propellers have been on here long enough that I'm going to change them regardless. I can really tell that they've been on here for a while by like the little chips in the actual blade there. This is a propeller that's been on here for too long. It's starting to get dents and dings there, and you see how it's just like dirty? Like it's just dirty from like sand and shit. It just like hitting sand while flying. So these props, even though they're still straight, right? Like if I put it on the table, it still sits completely flat. The blades are all the same distance from, well, that one might actually be a little bit low there. But yeah, this looks like a propeller that's completely fine, but it is not. It has just been on this quad for too long. It has had these individual blades bent upwards and then bent downwards too in turtle mode too many times. The plastic is fatigued. Get them the hell off. Get a fresh set on. It's a Cinewoop. How many sets of props are you going to run on it per year? 3, 4? Suck it up. Suck up the $5, $6 that it costs you for a few extra sets of props on a Cinewoop that you're trying to get cinematic footage with, and just swap the propellers out more often than you think you should. So yeah, all 4 of these are going in the bin, and we're going to put a fresh set of propellers on here. Remember back in the day with Tiny Whoops, you'd put like back in the brushed Tiny Whoop days, you'd put a fresh set of propellers on and it would be like a whole new rig. Oh, those were fun days. It would like fix all the problems. Just putting a fresh set of props on. No feedback, I'm guessing, from Crossfire for a change. All right, so now the motors are off. You can do whatever the hell you want with this. But you're just going to like, look, here's how much throttle throw I'm going to use. Ready? That's it. Look at that. That's all. Just a little bit. And to be honest, when you're turtle moding your quads back over, stop doing that. Just go like this to turtle mode them back over. And then it'll slowly go. And if the prop is blocked, you won't blow up your ESC, because you'll have slowly eased into it. All right, so I'm going to pick the quad up so that I can feel the vibrations. Motor 1. Motor 2. You can also kind of hear it. These motors sound like shit. This motor's got some... Motor 2 has something going on. It's got some vibes happening. Motor 3. Motor 3 feels fine. Motor 4. Motor 4 is hurting too. Hear how it gets louder at like different RPMs, it gets louder. I can feel that. And that's what you're feeling for. You want it to be... Motor 3 is smooth all the way across. You can actually hear it. How quiet it is? Now here's motor 2. Hear that like tune it's playing? That is the vibrations feeding into this and this arm and turning it into like a tuning fork, right? Like, hear that? That's me doing this. That's like the natural frequency of this arm. And now listen. Hear it? It's vibrating into that natural frequency. So motor 2 is the problem here. Motor 1's not loving life either, though. Motor 4 ain't loving life either. This rig has been through a lot. This rig has seen some shit. The other thing that's kind of cool to do, I didn't mean to unplug it, is to spin the motors absolutely as slow as you possibly can. In order to do that, you're going to have to use Betaflight. You just can't use the transmitter to get them to spin slow enough for that. So hook up, you know, on a Cinewoop, it's hard to get at the plug. That ain't the right one. This is the right one. I love these little 90-degree jobbers. Get this plugged into the flight controller. There we go. And then get this in here. Okay. And now we're going to launch Betaflight. And what I'm going to do is spin these motors as slow as they can possibly go. So we go to the motors tab. We understand the risks. Take the master slider and just click it. Just click it to select it, and then use your up arrow. And your up arrow will, one at a time, increase that. And you can get it to the point where these motors are spinning very, very slowly. Very, very, very slowly. And then you can actually usually, once you get them spinning, you can arrow down a little bit. See, right now it's at 10:15. I can probably arrow down 10:14, 10:13. They're still good. 10:12, 10:11, 10:10, 10:09. Look how slow they're spinning now. It's still blurring out because of the 30 frames a second that this camera runs at. I can watch the text go around. That's how slow they're spinning. 10:08. Now one of them starts to. That's not what you want. You got to go back up by one. And now we've got them spinning as slow as we can. Now that they're spinning as slow as we can, we are going to get our face down as low as we can to the motor and see if we can see the bell wobbling. It's really hard on a Cinewoop because the guards are there. If you need to take the guards off, the best bet would be to take the guards off, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to get my face down here. Motor 2. Yeah, I can see it wobbling. You guys might be able to see it wobbling too. See that? Hold on. Let me hold the camera a little bit more steady. All right, so if we get as low as possible. Look at the top lip of the bell. See that little tiny wobble there? For a freestyle rig, that would not matter at all. But for a cinematic rig, that does matter. So that's motor 2. Motor 1 was also a little bit noisy. Let's see if we can see anything on that one. Little something there. Little tiny bit of movement there. Let's take a look at motor 3. That was the clean one. And what we probably won't see is any significant amount of wobble. So look off on the right at the top of the bell against the Immortal T. There we go. Little tiny bit of motion, but less than the other ones. And now we'll look at motor 4. Motor 4 looks pretty damn good. Look how dirty the bearings are. These motors might just be really dirty, to be honest. Like this might be the bearing is just disgusting issue. While I've got it on here, while I've got it spinning the motors, let's just ramp each motor up individually. We've got a little bit more precision with Betaflight here. So let's take the master slider down one by one. All right, motor 1, motor 2. Oh yeah, motor 2 is hurting. Okay, motor 3. Motor 3 feels beautiful. Motor 4. Motor 4 is hurting too. Motors 2 and 4 have taken some abuse. Motor 1 might just be in a scenario where it's kind of dirty or something like that. Kind of hard to tell, but there we go. It's a mechanical thing. So I can sit here all day long and keep taking PID gain out, and eventually it won't oscillate when it's armed on the ground. But then as soon as I take it off, it'll fly like ass because I'll have taken all the PID authority out of it. So, you know, today, for example, the answer to this problem was to just fly the damn thing, because I'm not flying it when it's on the ground, right? The problem was happening when it's sitting on the ground. Take it off. Once it was up in the air, it was fine. Now that I've kind of dove into it a little bit, the solution is to replace motors 2 and 4. The real solution, because again, we don't want to take more PID gain out of it. Unfortunately, these motors were discontinued a while ago, and I think I have one extra, but I don't think I have 2 extras. I might have 1 extra bell, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do here. I don't know. I might swap all 4 of the motors out. This is the super lightweight Cinewoop. It's analog, and it's on the lightest 2004 motors ever produced. These Brother Hobby VYs that very sadly have been discontinued. There is a new version of this motor that's green, that I think is basically the same thing. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll get 2 of those and swap them onto the front. This rig is... Put these propellers on here. This is 278 grams dry. Show me another Cinewoop with full ducts, right? Like, you can actually fly this around people without being a huge liability. Don't talk to me about any of these bullshit prop guarded rigs. These are not prop guards. These are proper ducts. You can fly this safely. Those prop guarded rigs, in my opinion, are not safe. And it's just a matter of time before somebody gets chopped up by one and all of us suffer. Yeah, show me another proper safe around people rig that weighs 278. This is extremely light. This Cinesplore frame is awesome. These ducts are awesome. This drivetrain is great. This rig, yeah, I've done a lot of professional work with this rig, and it has just not skipped a beat. But it does need a little. It doesn't technically need a little bit of love. I could keep flying it like this. Once it's up in the air, it's fine. But I would rather get it to a point where it was a little bit cleaner and I could push the PIDs a little bit farther, so that it can handle the wind better and like really weird camera moves. So yeah, I'm gonna leave these. Well, I'm gonna get rid of these propellers and put a fresh set on. But I think I'm also going to pull these motors and replace them with something else. I do have another set of the FPV Cycle 2104s. I might put those on. They are a little bit heavier, so I'm kind of hesitant to do that. It would be nice to have both Cinesplores on the same set of motors. That would be really cool. This one, though, is light enough that it doesn't really need 2104s. Although I am now carrying the heavier Hero 10 with this, and it might benefit from the extra power. I'm kind of torn, but I'll figure something out. I don't think I have any other sets of 2004s that I can put on here. Sleepy CBR says, get Cris Rosser to send you some of those new motors of his. I am not super interested in those motors, if I'm honest. They are too big and too heavy, and I don't need all of that power. I run I run 2306s that are motor limited down to about 80%. So I probably run motors that make like 1,400 grams of thrust. Whenever I test 2207, the whole time it's like, wow, this is way too much power. And his motor is going to be even worse when it comes to that. The fact that they're super efficient is amazing, and they're you know, like I love that he made them, and I think that the tech is going to trickle down to some motors that I'm much more. It's basically 2306s. But yeah, his motors are in my opinion, his motors are for like an 850 gram all up weight rig. And I don't have any of those. Maybe his motors would be good on like maybe the Razorback. They're the wrong color for that though. But maybe they would be good for the Cineglide. But for any of my freestyle rigs, I'm not really interested. Also, RC and Power is notorious for having a razor thin air gap, which does not work for freestyle flyers that actually crash. And I crash quite a lot. So, yeah, his motors are really not my flavor. They're an incredible technical achievement, and I absolutely love that he's done so much work on them. And I'm sure that I'm sure that he won't be able to keep them in stock, and that's great. But yeah, I am of the opinion that you should run motors that make as little power as you can possibly stand, because the less power, the better your footage is going to look and the better your flying is going to be. Because instead of hurtling yourself into the heavens where nothing is happening over and over and over again, which admittedly is very fun, it's just not fun to watch. So yeah, there's that. But man, I am really hoping that he comes out with a low power set of really lightweight 2306s. Like, with the tech that he's kind of figured out, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to make like a 28 gram 2306 that still makes like 1,500 grams of thrust. And then we can start building lighter again. Like, you know, there's been this arms race for more power, more power, more power. And like, you look at the flight footage and you're like, it's not getting better. I really hope that there's a push for less power and less weight at some point here, because yeah, with what he seems to have figured out with the thickness of the magnets and the thickness of the flux ring, that could certainly help out with that, right? Like, I run these F40 Pro 4s that might not have that formula perfect, and they certainly don't have a chunk of aluminum taken out of the inside of the stator, but they're still like 28.9 grams or something like that. If Cris got a hold of that design, he could bring that down another gram or two maybe, and they would potentially make the same power. That's what really excites me about Chris's motors. I don't know. It's kind of an unpopular opinion, right? And it might not sell very well, making a motor that's lighter with less power. But I will continue to shout from the rooftops that that's what we want to focus on, not more power! Power! So, yeah, the analog ultra lightweight Cinesplore is kind of figured out. I don't really need to, although every so often I do just kind of throw a driver on a bunch of different screws and make sure that they're not. So when you saw me doing this is kind of how I can determine if there are some screws that are getting loose. You'll hear like a rattle. This is something that I do almost every time that I pick a quad up, just to listen for some rattling. And like, we've actually got some rattling, so then you just kind of trace it down. Just start touching stuff. It might be the battery straps. Might be the antenna. Once you put your fingers on something, it'll stop sort of vibrating. And eventually you'll find it. I have not found it yet, though. I also look for the height of the screws to see if any are sticking up a little bit too tall. Your Immortal T could be resting up against something. That's a pretty common thing that makes vibrations happen. I think maybe I might have a screw that's backing out here, though. Let's make sure that we're all tightened up here. Could just be the ducts kind of like rotating around a little bit, you know? All right, so all the M3 screws are fine. Let's check a couple of the duct screws. Always remember that these drones are just vibration machines. I don't care if you've Loctited these screws, they're gonna back out eventually. So you have to do this more often than you would think. A couple of these duct screws are taking 1/8 of a turn. So that very well could have been it. Let's try that. No, it's still there. Sometimes there just will be a rattle. There'll be there'll be something that's sitting up next to something else. So hold on. Let's do this. Let's isolate these 3 ducts. The problem is that doesn't shake the whole frame. Sounds like it's coming from over here. Interesting. Looking at the nuts on the flight controller, they look fine. Pushing down on the flight controller. Yeah. I don't know what it is. But those 2 front motors are definitely shaken, so those need to get stirred. I'm so sorry. That was strained. I'm through screwing around with this. Let's throw it up here. I'm going to figure out what to do about motors, and then, you know, I'm probably going to put the 2104s on there. I like having an analog Cinesplore. The 2104s are not that much heavier, and they make a lot more power. And they're a lot higher KV, so I can actually put like tri-blades on them, which is kind of cool. Although I don't really like any of the tri-blades as much as those Gemfan D76 quad blades. I'm sorry, 5 blades rather. So yeah, I don't know. Let's take a look. Are there any new 2004s that are interesting? Let's take a look at a couple of websites here. 2004. So this Brother Hobby TC 2004, I believe that this is the same thing as the motors that are currently on it. The VY motors that are currently on it. It's got a titanium motor shaft, which is why I believe it's so much lighter than all of the other 2004s. Yeah, so I'm really tempted to pick up a set of these, or maybe just 2. Yeah, I don't know. I've been really happy with them. I mean, I really love that they're so lightweight. I wonder if they still come with titanium screws. They used to come with M2x6 and M2x7 titanium screws, which was another thing I really liked about the Brother Hobby VYs. I'm going to leave this opened in a separate... Well, you know what? Let's see if the 3150 is in stock. It is. Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave that open in a tab. I would never run a Beta FPV motor. I would never run an HGLRC motor on like a cinematic rig. The arrow lights have the wires coming out the wrong direction, unfortunately. There's the old VY. This could be good. Mamba Toka. Oh, but the KV is not really high enough. 2900 KV. What I really want is 3500 KV, which is what the 2104s are. But yeah, I definitely don't want to go down below 3000 KV. This is not a lot below it, but I don't want less power. And right now it's on 3150. So I don't want to go down that far. Flash King, I would not, these are super ultra budget motors. I would not run those on something that you're going to use for professional work. That's all Get FPV has. Let's check Pyro Drone. So stay away from the Flash Hobby. Again, here's the Brother Hobby TC. Emax Eco is probably good, but they're really heavy. Brother Hobby Avenger 2004. That's kind of cool. It's got an M5 nut, which will make taking props on and off a lot easier, but it's also going to make it heavier, and it's way too low of a KV. 1650 KV is just stupid. Flash Hobby, no. Betaflight, no. What else do we have? There's the Brother Hobby Avenger, but again, 1700 KV is way too low. 17, 21. HGLRC, no. So the T-Motor 2004 is really tempting. Made by a trusted company, 3000 KV, which is good. I wish it was 31 or 3150 like the Brother Hobby. Wow, there's just no data on this. I guess the data used to be in these pictures that are now broken. See if I can find a weight on this motor. Fatec, I don't know. So I have had one of these Cinesplores built up with Axis Flying 2004s. I then moved those motors over to something. Maybe I'll move them back. Where the hell did those motors go? Oh, they're on the Tooth Fairy. Yeah, I'm not taking them off the Tooth Fairy. I really like the Tooth Fairy with those motors. What's cool about the Axis motors, I don't think Pyro has them in the higher KV, but you can get them in a higher KV from Newbie Drone. Yeah. So check this out. Newbie Drone is like the source for Axis motors, by the way. The problem with the Axis motor, the Axis 2004s, is they're heavy. Look at this KV, 3710 KV is available. I absolutely love that. These motors make mega power, but they're heavy. 15.4 grams versus... where the hell is it? Where's the weight? 14.9 with short wire. I thought that was bigger difference. 15.4. I could have sworn that there was a bigger weight difference. Well, fuck, I should have them in the one of every motor box. If there's less than a 1 gram difference, I might actually snag another set of the Axises just for that bump in KV. That 3710 KV is awesome. Do I not have... Apparently I don't. Okay, I was wrong. Do not have extras. I might have used the extras already, I guess. Oh look, I do have an extra Velox V3. I didn't even realize that. Okay. Let me check one more spot real quick here. Real quick, like. Let's just go in here. And I got my little T-Motor containers where I try to keep one extra of every single motor that I own, so that if I'm out and I blow one up, I have an extra to swap on. Hey! One of each. This guy has long wires on it, so it's not going to be a totally fair fight, but we've got 2104 with long-ass wires coming in at 19.4 grams. And then we've got the Axis 2004 with medium-length wires coming in at 16.9 grams. And then the Brother Hobby VY, yeah, see, 14.3. This 14.3 versus 14.9. Yeah, see, this is a significantly lighter motor. But the KV is much lower. I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to do here. The FPV Cycle 2104s are damn good, and they make big power, but they are fat boys. I can't believe there aren't any newer motors available. Let me see if I can get a weight on the T motors. Let's see if there's another website that has Steve Jobs is in the chat. He says, "Why are the HGLRC motors no good?" I've had a really terrible time with HGLRC. Admittedly, with like their electronics, so I just stay away from them, and it's not just me. Like everybody kind of makes fun of HGLRC for making motors making things that catch on fire. So yeah, for fuck's sake, come on. So I just in general stay away from them. They might be totally fine, but they probably aren't. Does GetFPV not have the T-Motor 2004s? They don't. All right, let's go. Let's check my last resort place. Okay. Oh, shit. That's right. There's a new Axis motor. There's a new Axis 2004. It's their cinematic. C for cinematic. And look, 3500 kV. Ooh, this might be the one. What? How the fuck is it 22 grams? What did you make it out of? Lead? What? What world are we living in? What is happening? 22 grams? That better not be right. That better be a misprint. What? 22? Are you out of your mind? It must not, it can't, either that's a misprint or it's not a 2004. If it's a 2004 and it weighs 22 grams, it should be beaten with a stick. That's not good. Hold on. Let's see if anybody else has specs on this. Well, Axis has it on their website. Go figure. Shut up with the pop-ups. There we go. 15 grams with no cables at all. Much better. Okay, so 15 grams with no cables at all. What did I say the Brother Hobby VY weighed? Does anybody remember? 15.4 for this Axis 2104. 15 grams with no cables at all. That's still a little bit heavy, but it's 3500 kV. And Axis makes good stuff. Damn. They only have one in stock, it said, which is not good. But I can probably find it somewhere else. Yeah, look, GetFPV has it. Oh no, that's the 2204. Ah, that's what they did. They have either the item or the listing is wrong. They've got that 22 grams. That's the weight for the 2204 version, not the 2004. Who else has this Axis C204? Phaser. Who the hell's Phaser? Team Black Sheep, but nobody wants to order from there. Get FPV, hey! There we go. Oh! Newbie drone. Okay. So Phaser has 12 in stock for 18 each. That's cool. Get FPV has it, though. Why didn't I... Oh, no. They have the 2204. That's not what I want. See, this is all... This is... What? Why? Oh, God. Axis. Whoever the fuck was at T-Motor that decided to name their motors like after doing a whole bunch of coke must have gone over to Axis, and now the Axis motors are named as if the whole company is high on bath salts. What? This no, don't, like, so we've now got a situation where, like, they're dropping a number, right? But, like, oh my God, why? So they drop, so it's in theory it's a 2204, but it's not a 2204 because look, so what Axis does on all of their other motors is instead of naming it a 2204, they say, "Oh, this 0 is worthless. We don't need to have this 0 here because we don't make 2210s. No, we're not going to make a 2210 or 2211 or 2212. So let's just drop this 0 and we'll call this 2204 a 224. Well, what the fuck? This says 204, which leads me to believe that it's a 2004. And they dropped that O because you don't want to drop this O because you make a 22. So what is it? In the picture, it says 204, which leads me to believe that it's a 2004. I don't know. Maybe just don't name your motors like a bunch of maniacs, and then we won't deal with it. And now look, the thrust chart says 2004. I don't know. God damn it. Go away, person that wants to help me. I don't want your help. There we go. So, I don't know. I would love to buy these from Get FPV, but I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a 2004, which is what this says here, or a 2204. Maddening. See, there you go. Newbie Drone's got it. C204, 2004. But they don't have it in 3500 kV. So I am going to send a message to Get FPV, I guess, because I would rather order these from Get FPV rather than Phaser. And Race Day Quads only has one. I also try to never order from Race Day Quads, but that's just me. Heli Direct, really? 2910 kV though. They don't have the 3500 kV. Yeah, okay, so I'll shoot a message to, I don't know if I have a contact at Get FPV anymore, but I'll just, I'll message him and ask him what the hell's going on here. Watch this. I know how I can figure it out. If I search for Axis 2204, I can look up, no. I can look up the KVs that they come in. Fuck you! I was hoping that they wouldn't come in a 3500 kV. But they do. I'm pretty sure that this right here is what's wrong. Because this is correct. The picture is correct. the specs down here are correct. 2204. This is wrong, I think. And it looks like they only make the 2204 in M5 mount. See that? Axis. Let's try this. C224. Yeah, look, the 2204s are all M5 mount. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, okay. So, all right. I might get these, man. This is you know, it says cinematic, although I bought one set of these Axis Flying cinematic motors, and it is one of the notchiest motors I have ever experienced, which is the complete opposite of cinematic in terms of jello. They're so notchy, in fact, that I've been kind of too scared to put them on the live streaming rigs. So these are the Axis Yar. These are the Axis 145s. In 4,500 kV. And they are just, you'll be able to hear it. Listen to how notchy this is. That's just me doing this. It's like I don't know. Come on, buddy. You can do it. You can do it, Logitech. I have faith in you. I have no faith in you. Look, I stabbed myself in the palm the other day with a screwdriver. Fucking A, that hurt. There we go. Nah, it's not going to stay focused because... There it goes. Look at that. Look at it snapping into each position. Versus... There's not going to be a super... Well, okay. Here's a Mamba Toka 1505. This is just a motor that's not super notchy. See how much... Look at that. I mean, you can tell, you can see that difference, right? And now listen to it. Ready? Here, listen to it. Can't fucking hear anything, right? I'm holding it in the exact same spot. That's what a motor should sound like. It shouldn't... That's not what you want. So, yeah, if these... I guess the smart thing to do would be just to order one of these 2004s. Oh God, this is just... Oh, what the hell? Yeah, so there's that. But Erickson says Newbie Drone has a different Axis Flying 24. Sorry, did I miss anything? It came in late. Yeah, that was the first one that we covered. I have that their other 2004 on the Tooth Fairy. They're good, but I wasn't overly impressed by them. I love that this is in their cinematic line for designed for professional cinematic FPV drones. I just don't understand how or why they're making those other cinematic 1504s are so notchy. It just, I don't know. I am way behind on chat. CMYK says Mike was great, no buzz. Love that. Jesse James says just got the Mobula 8, crashed, changed the frame, and now when I arm, motor 3 twitches and beeps. Change the motor, same thing. What do you think? That is a failed ESC. When you crashed, it probably ate the ESC. Crashing is really hard on ESCs, especially when the propellers get jammed. The PID loop might be asking for the PID loop might be sending full power to that channel, and then when you crash, the propeller gets jammed, and that is like worst case scenario. If you've got if channel 3 twitches and beeps, and then you put a different motor on it and it does the same thing, that's the end of the troubleshoot. That there's a MOSFET that is blown up on that channel, like the end. There's just nothing else that it could be, unfortunately. So yeah, man, you're buying a new AIO. Sorry, brother. Denzel the Terrible says you got to be able to trust your gear on jobs. Fresh props or cheap insurance, very much so. Gage Stays Fly FPV says CiottiFPV and gang, good to see everyone, boys and girls. Jesse James says yeah, she's shaking like a stripper in reference to the 2004 motors. Kevin Sumner says regarding AOS motors, agreed. I was much more interested in power of a median 2207, but were as light as a 2306 or even 2205. Yeah, I would love to see a 2206 with the tech that's in the Supernovas. That I think would be a much much better a much better motor for most freestyle rigs. CBCBR says, just noticed Ciotti has over 8K subs. I do. It happened a few days ago. Let's see what the... I didn't see it happen or anything. But let's real quick see what... Curious what the exact number is. 8027. Look at us go! Look at that. Very cool. There is a way to look at like the live. I don't know. It doesn't. Nothing works. Oh wait, here it is. Go to channel analytics. I don't know. I don't know how to use YouTube, but yeah, there you go. Steve Jobs. No, we got that. CMYKFPV says, I want the one with the bigger GBs. Bigger GBs? What's that mean? Bigger GBs? Kevin Sumner says, agreed. If we're going to change the naming, make it useful, stator volume ratio and weight right there in the name. CBCBR says that pop-up guy tried to help me. He did too. He could have maybe helped me. Gage Stays Fly with a $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, new parts together for the ultimate whoop. WeBleed 32,500 motors. Stock Mobula6 tune. Motors race. Flips out. Directions normal. Where to start. LOL. Stock motor. What does motors race flips out mean? I don't know what that means. And then directions norm where to start. Not totally sure what that means either. Best I can do for you is to say, so I'm going to take a lot of guesses here. I'm going to take a guess that when you arm it, it goes bananas, which could mean a bunch of different things. It is so difficult to troubleshoot over the internet in general, but especially with like, a sentence and a half to go off of. So I'm going to take a whole bunch of guesses. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stuff to go off of, and then you can try to fix it yourself. So one thing that it could be is that your board orientation is wrong. You want the AIO to be, there's usually an arrow on the AIO. You want that to be facing forward. The easy button is to go into Betaflight, just connect. The very first screen on Betaflight has like a little virtual model. Take your quad and with it plugged in and make it go nose down, and make sure that the virtual model in Betaflight also goes nose down. Then go left, make sure it goes left, right, and then yaw left, yaw right. Make sure that in Betaflight it matches all of that. Then you're going to check your propellers to make sure that your propellers are on correctly. Then you're going to check your motor rotation to make sure that the motors are rotating either props out or props in. and you want to check that against your propellers. Then you're going to make sure that motor 1 is here, motor 2 is here, motor 3 is here, and motor 4 is there. And if you go through all of those things and it's still freaking out, then you potentially have an issue with... also, in the top left corner of the motors tab, there's a thing where you can tell it you want to be props in or props out. Make sure that's correct in reference to the way your propellers are and the way that the motors are spinning. If all of that is correct, check it all again. I swear to God, check it all again. I cannot tell you how many times I've gone through that and I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. I don't understand what the hell's going on. There's a fucking propeller on, like one propeller wrong. Or it's props in instead of props out. You always check stuff twice with quads. And the second check is not a half-ass check, like, oh, I know I should do this, so I'll just do it. Oh, it looks fine. Like, seriously, stop, take a breath. Okay, board orientation. Is it correct? Do it at, like, if anything, you want to go half speed because you're making a mistake somewhere. You got to catch that mistake. So you check it a full second time at half speed, and then at that point, it's potentially a blown up, broken gyro, or, I mean, you said it's stock PIDs. It's not going to be PID related. Maybe it's filter related, but I'm assuming that you're on stock filters too, so it shouldn't be filter related either. If it is PID or filter related, that means that the gyro is broken. So, yeah, there you go. There's a whole bunch of things for you to try. You should figure it out at some point in that troubleshoot. But, yeah, check the props first. You wouldn't believe how often you've got one propeller that's incorrect, and that makes it go nuts. Gage says, false alarm. When I dumped the CLI, I changed the orientation. I said it before. There you go, my friends. Board orientation. Motor direction normal, props, etc. It will idle flat, but throttle, and then it revs and flips out. All orientation normal. Yeah, so see, here we go. Gage says all orientation is normal, but then he realized that it was the CLI. So first and foremost, don't do CLI dumps. They are a bad idea. It does not take very long to set everything up in Betaflight, and it's really good practice. Setting a quad up every time, over and over and over again, is really good practice in Betaflight. If you ever start getting professional jobs, something's going to go wrong at some point, and if you've gone through Betaflight 500 times, you are going to be able to fire Betaflight up, fix the problem, and get back the fuck up in the air. And if you get back up in the air 60 seconds earlier, that can be the difference between making something really cool happening and completely missing an event and getting bitched the fuck out or never getting hired again in your area, because the film community is very tight-knit, and if you fuck up, word's going to get around that you're the guy that fucked up. So setting Betaflight up from scratch over and over and over and over again and not using CLI dumps is a really good idea. Not to mention that CLI dumps do this shit right here, because there's a ton of stuff in there and it's so easy to miss something and not go through and yeah, have it like sneak in. So stop doing CLI dumps. The only time that I'll do a CLI dump is if, and I'm probably going to do it on this rig, so this AIO on this rig is broken. There's a blown up MOSFET. So I'm going to send this AIO back, get a replacement one, and I'm going to do a CLI dump because it's the same exact rig, it was working, and it's the same exact flight controller that's going back into it, and I am changing nothing. This is the only scenario where a CLI dump is going to work. If you change any electronics or you change motors or change the frame, don't do it. Or if it wasn't working at any point, I can get away with it because this thing was flying, and then the MOSFET cooked. So yeah, and that's on the Neutron board, unfortunately. But thumbs up to Neutron, because Bob Ruge recently said that he's been running the bigger Neutron AIO in a toothpick or something, and it's been bulletproof. So I think I just got a bad one. This is the Neutron tiny whoop board. Or maybe their tiny whoop board sucks and their Their bigger AIO is good. Mick Bucas with a $4.20 weed number super chat. He says, thanks for another good time. See you Wednesday. You're certainly welcome, my friend. Cole Power says, nothing wrong with the CLI dump. I disagree. Just don't mindlessly restore from a dump. Use it to inform what you do manually. I think looking at a CLI dump has value, but I think the second that you paste a CLI dump in, unless you're really, really, really experienced, and even those of us that are, get it wrong. On a tiny whoop, yeah, who cares? Other than the fact that it could potentially waste you time. I'm not a fan of CLI dumps. Or diffs either. I just think it opens the door to too many weird little things to sneak in there. And it's really good practice to just go through Betaflight, spend 4 whole minutes going through the tabs and just setting stuff up. Maybe you'll see something in there that you haven't used before and you're like, what's this? Let me try launch control. Holy Christ, this is the coolest thing ever. Thanks, Ciotti. That's just my opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinion, Cole. Gage Stays Fly says, I got a new flight controller and it didn't know it was a Mobula6. I set it up, but wasn't programmed for VTX, so I dumped. Here's what I'll tell you. If you have to do... So first of all, don't do a dump. Don't take a dump. Just hold it in forever, and it'll come out your eyeballs. Do a diff. A CLI dump gives you everything. You don't need everything. You only need the things that are different from stock. So instead of typing dump, you're going to type diff, and that's going to give you a lot less stuff. And then what you want to do is look at it. Take it, copy it, paste it into a text document, and look at it. All of the items are fairly well named. And so if you were to do... So it sounds like all you wanted to pull over was your VTX stuff. So type diff, copy it, paste it into a text document. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that says VTX, 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 VTX. Highlight those and just bring those in. Or if you want to pull your OSD over, there's a bunch of items that say set OSD, blah, 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 blah. Set OSD. Grab just those OSD items and just pull those OSD items. Leave all the stuff that you don't understand what it is, because you don't know what it is. Maybe it's something bad. So be careful. Careful with diffs and dumps. Don't push too hard. You could blow a gasket. Metal Dirtskin says, I have a bunch of snippets in a text file. There it is. That's how you do it. Me too. Text file with the stuff I need. Rates, OSD, switch modes, and paste those in. But PIDs and filters are never included in those. That's the way to do it right there. Dexter Greenman with a £5 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, how do you PID tune a whoop? Any good guide recommendations? Dexter, rewind this live stream. I got a very similar question about 10 minutes in, and I went on like a 25-minute tirade about tuning. I hate to... I would love to just go on that tirade again, especially since you super chatted me. I really do appreciate the support. But I would literally say the exact same thing that I did an hour ago, and it's already 12:10. Jesus. I guess we're not going to work... Well, what did I see we were going to work on? The Cinesplore and the Glide. Let's... Cole Power says, I can't tell me how many times... A good dump has saved my ass. I see what you did there. Kevin Sumner says, I set up my own presets instead of depending on dumps, but presets are a pretty high technical bar. Yeah, they are. All right, hold on. Let's at least start to change this. Oh man, I'm gonna have to pull this session out of here. So this is the test bed glide. It's got all weird shit on it that I try to test this stuff like all at once. So it's got like an ESC that I don't usually use, motors that I don't usually use, the frame I know, the antenna I know, the VTX is a little bit different. It's just a TBS. It's got a different flight controller, but I mean, for the most part, a flight controller is a flight controller. If it works, it's going to perform. They're all going to perform about the same. The antenna is not really something that I evaluate on this rig, but like everything else is. And yeah, I broke the antenna. So I might not even have an extra antenna, but if I do, I can, in theory, pretty quickly show you how to prepare an antenna to last a little bit longer and be a little bit more protected. So I do not like MMCX. I've had more scenarios where MMCX plugs have gotten stuck inside of VTXs and ruined the VTX, or MMCX plugs just tend to fall out. And when they fall out, you pretty much lose all video and you can lose the entire rig. So not a fan of MMCX at all. UFL is amazing as long as you do a couple unbelievably simple things to make it a little bit more durable. And I'm gonna try to show you those things as quickly as I can here. I would love to take these props off, but I'm gonna really try to just blast through this here. So this is a TBS Unify, I forget which one. It doesn't matter. I do not recommend any TBS VTXs. They are, they just don't last. Like, it feels like with a TBS VTX, every single time you power the quad up, it loses like 5 milliwatts. And eventually the TBS VTXs just like make shit power and you get terrible range. So yeah, I really don't recommend them. Rush VTXs, I've had much better luck with. And this isn't just me. I've talked to so many people about this and they've all said the same thing. Rush VTXs seem like a better choice and they're a hell of a lot less money. I really wish that Immersion RC still made the Tramp. That was my favorite VTX of all time. If you have an antenna that this happens to, the top cap breaks off and the inner elements look kind of beat up, that antenna is garbage. As soon as this inner stuff moves at all, it is now no longer a tuned antenna, and it might as well just be a piece of wire. So this thing is broken. Like, I could put a piece of shrink wrap on top and protect it a little bit, but the inside of this antenna is just ruined because after it broke like this, so if I had caught this top breaking off and then immediately put some shrink wrap over here with a bunch of extra shrink wrap up top here to protect it, I might be okay, but I kept flying it and now it's just wrecked. And like I literally watched the video quality get worse and worse and worse. So yeah, this is now garbage. But this, you know what? I can show you on this antenna exactly what I do to protect these antennas a little bit more. The first thing is to add a little bit of extra shrink wrap here up between the wire and the head of the antenna. It looks like it either slipped off here or I didn't do it, but I like to put a piece of shrink wrap that goes from up here to the wire to just bridge this little gap here so that it doesn't do this. What I don't want is for the wire to go like that. That can, after that bends a couple times when you're bouncing through scraggle and shit, it'll break the wire right at the joint. Although, man, this piece of shrimp wrap here is doing a really good job making sure that doesn't happen. The other thing that I do is put some shrimp wrap here between the brass head of the UFL and the actual wire, because it loves to crease. Come on, you piece of shit! It loves to crease there as well. There you go. So you just put a tiny little piece of shrimp wrap there, and that's going to make it an awful lot better. Let me really quickly, like how I hit the camera and then it started to work. It had nothing to do with me hitting it. I was just taking out my frustration. Do I have... I do. Another UFL antenna. All right, this is my last one. And luckily, it's already prepped and ready to go. Thanks, past me. So this is a fully prepped antenna right here. Check this out. So also, to prevent the cap of the antenna from popping off, you can put another piece of shrimp wrap up top there to kind of hold the cap on. Isn't that nice, right? So you got that, and then there's the little piece of shrimp wrap between the wire and the head, and then I got my other little piece of shrimpy wrappy right there. So this is a fully prepped antenna. This is going to be as durable as possible. So this is the cheaper TrueRC OCP antenna. The only thing I don't like about it is this plastic. It's like a hard plastic. So what I'm going to do, and I hate to do this from a weight perspective, but since this is my last one, I want it to last, and I am going to crash the shit out of this quad to really test those Velox motors. What I'm going to do is put another piece of shrimp wrap over the entire head of this thing. The top edge here is usually what hits the ground, so that's why this top piece of shrimp wrap is really nice, but I'm just going to put another piece as just like double protection on this thing. Kind of like, you know, wearing 2 condoms. But in this case, it'll actually work, whereas apparently wearing 2 condoms is the worst idea ever. Because it makes them like tear or something. I don't know. So let's just line this up here, and we're going to cut it down. Okay. So little known tip when it comes to shrimp wrap is that you can stretch it. This shrimp wrap is not big enough to go over the head of this antenna right now. But if you take a set of needle nose pliers, or any pliers for that matter, put it on in there, you can stretch this, and then when you heat it up, it'll shrink back to where it was before. And you can actually stretch these quite a bit. You just want to be careful, because if you stretch it too much, you will tear it. Stretch it in one direction, flip it over like you saw me do. Also rotate it, because it's not stretching it where the jaws of the pliers are. And then make sure that you flip it like this too, because it's stretching it more on one side than the other. So now, and be quick, because it starts to return to its original size as soon as you stop stretching it. I was a little bit too slow. Let's get it again. You can also just buy shrink wrap. Most shrink wrap is a 2-to-1 shrink ratio. You can buy shrink wrap that's 3-to-1. Quick. And all right, it's not me being slow. It's just that I need to really stretch this stuff out. This is probably a little bit too small of a size. I should have picked one size up, but I didn't have it in that little dish. There we go. Come on, go. Ah! And you can literally feel it like starting to return to its original shape when you're if it's a really tight fit like that. There we go. That's the ticket. Just give it a little bit of help here. There it is. Yeah. Okay. All right, and now I'm gonna push it back up a little bit. You want any extra off on the top where it's gonna smack into the ground, just so it's got a little bit of extra jam on it there. All right, cool. And I still use a lighter because I'm a savage. If you're using a lighter and you don't want the shrink wrap to get all black, hold the thing that you're shrinking right up to it. Use the blue part of the flame. The blue part of the flame is very gassy, and for whatever reason, that gassy part of the flame does not color the shrink wrap all black and ugly and shit. So just hold it really close, and it'll stay nice and clear. And that's it. Don't get the antenna too hot, because it's sealed and it'll like bubble out the plastic. Be quick with your heat application. And like with that piece, it wrapped and it wrapped, so it's not going anywhere. So I don't really have to get it super shrunken down. I just have to make sure that this side and this side are shrunken down, and now it's locked on and it's not going anywhere. So yeah, there we go. That's it, yo. That's a quick and dirty, not really dirty though, just quick antenna swap. This TBS Unify uses this little brass bastard to hold the UFL on, and it is a fucking nightmare to get the little screws into it. So I'm gonna save you guys, and I'm not gonna make you watch me try to do it and just scream and curse and cry and piss my pants mercilessly, because that's pretty much what is coming. That's what I got on the horizon here. So yeah, I'm gonna shut this stream down in a second so that you don't have to watch that insanity, even if you want to, you masochists. All right, there it is. Let me just, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll be fine. I have done it a bunch of times now. No, see, this is where it's just... Oh, god damn you. I don't understand why it's so difficult. Oh, I got it. I take it all back. The first bunch of times I did it, it was a total nightmare to get the screws to line up with the screw holes. But I don't know. Maybe I'm getting better at it. Cool. So there it is. There's a fresh new antenna on here. I just need to put a little zip tie on here just to hold this UFL. You want to make sure that your UFL mount, this is actually really important. You want to make sure that the mount itself is what's holding the antenna. If you can pull this antenna and it can put any stress on the UFL, it's going to break. It's going to rip that UFL right off. So you got to make sure that whatever is holding this antenna has the ability to grip onto the UFL wire. That's the other really important thing to getting a UFL antenna to be durable. So there's a link to this mount on my Thingiverse collection, which is linked over on Patreon. And yeah, make sure you get this zip tie nice and tight. Like that. And then to test it, just grab the antenna wire and just pull on it and make sure that the mount moves. You see the mount's moving? Right? That's what you want. You want the mount to take up the slack. You don't want the wire to be able to pull in or pull out or push in. This mount needs to take all of the heat. So the mount itself is where the strength is coming from, not the wire. If the wire pulls, it's game over. Very, very important. That's probably the most important thing of getting a UFL antenna that's nice and durable for you. Other than that, this thing is good to go for more abuse. I got to change these props out. They are pretty fucking mangled, but yeah, this thing is ready to go. Exciting times. I am going to move this camera plug because it was trying to escape. I'm going to stuff it under the ESC here. There we go. All right, nothing's touching the flight controller. Yep. Nice little gap there. Everything's looking fine. Top plate, and we're back in business. Cool. So we did the things that the title of the stream said we were going to do. First time for everything. I'm pretty good about that lately. All right, yo. What's up, chat? Just bubble wrap your air units in 03s. Off Axis says. Patchy Smoke Winter Cyber says, what's up? Cole Power says, got to save something for the OnlyFans. McMucus says, I should have been asleep a long time ago, but CiottiFPV making me laugh. Hey, speaking of Off Axis, he put up a really cool series of edits called Choose Your Own Adventure. I didn't like totally understand it at first. I feel like a complete asshole, but he said keep going. Basically, there's I'm actually going to show it to you. I'm probably going to get copyright dinged. Don't put a copyright strike against me, Off Axis. Hold on. I mean, we might as well go all the way here, right? What the fuck's happening here? Why does that feel so weird? Why is that like... That was weird. Alright, hold on. CMYK, is that the link? What is happening with this? Is this spinning the standoff? Why is it getting all grindy? This is weird. It's... No, it's just the way it's interfacing with the TPU. That's very strange. I remember that happening. CMYK says yes. Hit that link, yo. You guys will figure it out. CMYK is putting the link up. It's well worth your time. So you go through the link, and then at the end, it's going to give you one of two videos. Click one of those, and then at the end of those, it'll give you one or two more options. And then I don't know how far it goes, but yeah, you get to choose your path. Off Axis flew a bunch of different cinematic things, and then with each one you get to like keep going. Man, am I doing a terrible job explaining this? Good Lord. You'll figure it out. Just stick with it, and till the end of each video, and it'll explain it. For the record, these Velox motors, the bells, have taken some abuse already, and the motors are still spinning totally clean. So I'm already kind of impressed with these Velox V3 motors. They seem like they're pretty durable. So that's kind of rad, great. Off Axis says still better than my explanation. Yeah, like this motor here has got a big old ding in the bell here, and it still spins perfectly true, which is great. I love that. Some motors, like as soon as a mark shows up on the bell, it's game over. They're just wasted, but not these. All right, friends, it is 12:28. We streamed for 2.5 hours tonight. I think that's about enough. Man, this M5 nut took a hell of a beating too. There it is. All right. Yeah, this one too back here. This one's got a big old ding in it. Look at these. So we've got that big old scrape there. Come on, you bastard. Focus, you shitbird. All right. Still spins fine. And then we got one on here. Still spins fine. I guess these two escaped unscathed so far, but not the next time I go out and fly. They're gonna get the hell beaten out of them. So yeah, there it is, my friends. The Joker quad, green, purple and green. Look at us go. All you Batman fans should be happy with this build color combo. These props, man. These are the GemFan 4943s. These are my favorites at the moment. Good power. They work really well on these. A lot of these motors are crazy high KV now. 1950 KV on 6S. You might as well run a 4.9 inch prop. You've got the RPM for it to make good power. Yeah, it's light. The 4.9 inch props are lighter weight, so you'll get better PID loop response. Almost like turning your PIDs up. Mechanical tuning, right? Lightweight props are mechanical tuning. All right, friends, be good. Apache Smoke 1 Sniper says, just got some Velox motors from T-Motor, looking good. Frame to put them in. You know which one I like. I gotta figure out what to do about 2004s. I think I might try these Axis. I think I might try these cinematics. I'm at least gonna order one and spin it and see how notchy it is. I don't know. Figure it out. Thanks for hanging, my friends. I'll see you on Wednesday for some Whoop Wednesday action. CiottiFPV.com to support me. Much like NPR, I rely on you beautiful people to keep this thing going. A couple of bucks a month, you can jump onto my Patreon. Ton of benefits. Helps me out a lot. It's the only way that I can keep doing this. So hook a brother up. Jump over there. Send me a few dollars a month, and we'll keep hanging together. 40 hours a month. Bye-bye, my friends. Here comes some more flying from today. This was out in the parking lot. Man, I had to put a shitload of sync points on this footage to get it clean, but I think it's pretty clean now. Be good, people! Love you lots. That song sounds terrible. No. Ew. Ew. Just lost the light. Come on, man. No. No. This'll work. This'll work. All right, people, be good. A little bit of this, a little bit of this. See ya.
What I do. Whoa, 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 whoa. Race that go. I need a bag and I need it to go. I hit a spot and I'm ready to go. I've been on go, so I'm always on go. Been it before and I act like I know. Been it before and I know how it goes. Straight up, part of my weight, my gain up. I don't need chains, I'm chainless. Long as my kids stay kicked up, long as my mom stay prayed up. I'll be here forever. I'll be here forever. I'll be here forever. You can't do what I do. No, 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 you can't do what I do. I take a loss and learn. I watch some bridges burn. I never toss and turn. I wake up and I repeat. It's only me that I can beat. I might drop a song a week. Look, go, 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 go. On the line. Go, 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 go. DDR. Go, 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 go. Have some fun, like you can't do what I do. No, 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 you can't do what I do. You can't do what I do. No, 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 you can't do what I do. What I do. You can't do what I do. You can't do what I do. No, 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 you can't do what I do. Whoa, 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 whoa. Race that go. I need a bag and I need it to go. I hit a spot and I'm ready to go. I've been on go, so I'm always on go. Been it before and I act like I know. Been it before and I know how it goes. Straight up, part of my weight, my gain up. I don't need chains, I'm chainless. Long as my kids stay kicked up, long as my mom stay prayed up. I'll be here forever. I'll be here forever. I'll be here forever. You